What's up guys, my name is Stoody and I'd like to welcome you all back to another video, and in today's video I'm going to be doing my round 4 tips for the 2023 AFL season. Before we go ahead and get into the tips for this week, let's just go ahead and have a look and see how I went last week. So last week I got 5 out of 9 tips correct for the week. I am now on 18 tips in total for the 2023 season, which is really good. I'm actually on top of every single tipping competition that I am in. So I'm doing really good in the tipping this year. It's the best I've done since 2014. 2014, I won like hundreds of dollars from winning a tipping competition, and I won it by about 15 or so tips. Like, I dominated. But since then, I've kind of struggled with the tipping, but this year I've been really good again. So let's go ahead and see what ones I got correct and incorrect. We'll start off with the tips I got correct. So I got Collingwood, Carlton, St Kilda, Melbourne and Fremantle correct. Incorrect, I got the Western Bulldogs, Hawthorn, Adelaide and the Gold Coast. Now let's go ahead and get into this week's tips. So I'll be starting off the week on Easter Thursday. It is the Brisbane Lions taking on Collingwood at the Gabba, you know, the traditional Easter Thursday game. Now this one, it's 50-50. Obviously, Collingwood are in some really good form, 3-0. Whereas Brisbane, they've lost a couple of games. I still think Brisbane are one of the top teams in the competition, though. A 1-2 start really is nothing. I'm pretty sure Brisbane started the season 0-2 a couple of years ago. And then in this exact fixture, they kicked a goal after the siren to win the game. And they ended up making the top 4, I believe. Whereas Collingwood ended up finishing near the bottom of the ladder that year. But anyway, about 68% have gone with Collingwood at the time of recording this, and only 32 Brisbane. So I'm going to be going against the grain here, and I'm going to be tipping Brisbane to win this game by 15 points. I know Collingwood are in some really good form, but Brisbane are going to be desperate to get a win. They're 1-2. They're not going to want to be 1-3. You know, they just won't look good on them. They're at home, so I think home ground advantage is huge. And Collingwood, you know, they're doing really good, but here's the thing, every now and then a team's got to drop off a little bit. So I'm going to predict Collingwood to drop off a little bit against the Lions. I'm going to tip Lions to turn it up here and get the win over Collingwood, and I think Brisbane will win this game by 15 points. It'll be reasonably close, but I'm going to go the Lions. Moving on to Friday twilight, we have North Melbourne taking on Carlton at Marvel Stadium. So I'm going to be tipping Carlton in this one by 37 points. Carlton did struggle to beat the Giants last week. The Giants did play a really good game last week at home. However, not quite good enough to be able to go ahead and beat the Blues. But the thing is, GWS were robbed because Carlton did kick a goal from a bullshit 50-metre penalty. When Lachie Whitfield, all he did was ask what a free kick was for. It's bullshit. That rule is a disgrace. And that was clearly match fixing right there. So Carlton were gifted that win, and as for North, they lost to Hawthorn. So North, they started 2-0, but I think they'll start to come back to reality now. And I think Carlton will go on to win this game quite comfortably. And Carlton will remain undefeated in 2023 after round 4. Moving on to Saturday afternoon, we have the Adelaide Crows taking on Fremantle at the Adelaide Oval. Now, again, bizarre tipping from the public. 62% have gone the Crows. I don't understand why. I know the Crows got the win against Port, but that was the showdown. You know, of course they're going to be up for that. And I know Fremantle lost their first 2, but they've got that win out the way against the Eagles. So they're going to be feeling a little bit better about themselves. And it is Adelaide's home ground. I know that. So that will be a bit of an advantage for them. But the thing is, I don't think the Crows really are that good. And Fremantle really should be able to take care of a team like the Crows. I know they lost to North and shit, but that was just a hiccup, the way I see it. I think Fremantle will still be definitely a top 8 team. So I'm going to be tipping the Dockers to win this one. And I'll say by 19 points. It'll be a competitive game. Obviously, it's at Adelaide's home ground, and they will have some confidence after their win last week, but Fremantle should definitely be too strong for the Crows. Saturday twilight, we have Richmond team on the Western Bulldogs at the MCG. I will do a live reaction to this one as well. I have the Sunday off. I do work on this day, but I finish about an hour or so before this game starts. So I'll come home, quickly get the stream ready and all that, and I'll do my live reaction. So I'm going to be tipping Richmond to win this one by 27 points. Richmond, I just think, are the better team. Only lost to Carlton by 14 points, plus should be getting Dustin Martin, Jacob Hopper, and Jaden Short back, so that would really help the Tigers. I know the Dogs got the win against the Lions last week, but it was a weird sort of a game, and to be honest, Richmond really do have the wood over the Western Bulldogs. The Western Bulldogs have not beaten Richmond in 4 years. So, Richmond's home ground, recent record, and the fact is, I think Richmond are the better team. So, with all those factors in mind, I'm going to tip Richmond to win this. Moving on to Saturday night, we have St Kilda taking on the Gold Coast Suns at Marvel Stadium. St Kilda somehow are 3-0, whereas the Suns got an upset victory over the Cats last week. However, I don't think the Cats are actually that good this year, so I'm sure in 10 or so weeks' time we won't be calling that game an upset. But I'm going to be taking St Kilda in this one by 11 points. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Suns go on to beat St Kilda, because St Kilda, they are massively overachieving. And when a team overachieves, there's usually that one game where they lose to kind of an easier team that brings them back to reality. And it's usually at around about this time when that team loses. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gold Coast actually go on to beat St Kilda. Now, if I was having a tough start to the season in the tipping, I would be tipping Gold Coast because it is a bit of a gamble. But 94% have gone St Kilda, and since I'm like way ahead, I might as well take the safe option. I've already tipped 2 teams against the grain, so no point taking any more risks for the rest of the week. So I'm going to go to Saints here, but don't be surprised if Gold Coast go on to win. The other Saturday night game, we have Sydney taking on Port Adelaide at the SCG. I'm going to be tipping Sydney to win this game by 23 points. Sydney, they're in the better form, I guess. I know Port had a big win in round 1, but since then they've looked very ordinary. Couldn't even beat the Crows last week. Sydney, I know they got smashed against Melbourne, but it's their home ground, and I think they should be a little bit too strong for the power. Sydney just in the better form, home ground advantage. It's really an easy one, to be fair. Obviously, Port are definitely a chance. I'm pretty sure Port actually beat them at the SCG last year. I don't know if it was the SCG or Adelaide Oval. It might have been the SCG, but I know Port definitely did beat them last year. But I'm going to tip Sydney. It's a safe option. Moving on to Sunday, we have Essendon taking on the GWS Giants at Marvel Stadium again. Another one that can just go either way. This is a tough one to tip. But I'm going to go Essendon in this one by 8 points. I'm not impressed by Essendon. They beat up some bad teams, but then lost to St Kilda, and I thought they lost quite convincingly. They're really not that good, and GWS on their day definitely can be better than Essendon. I will tip Essendon, but only because it's their home ground and because 85% have gone with them, and no point taking a risk, even though GWS could easily beat them. I can easily see it happening. Last week I seriously considered tipping Hawthorn and Adelaide. I even said I wouldn't be surprised if Gold Coast beat Geelong. By memory, I said I wouldn't be surprised if those 3 particular teams actually went on to win. But I wasn't brave enough to actually tip them all. But yeah, fortune favours the brave at times. So I would have got 8 had I done that. But at the same time, could have easily got everything wrong and go on to get 3. Like some people actually got 3. Because they got the 50-50 games wrong. It's the 50-50 games that you really need to get right. The ones where half the people will tip one team and the other half tips another. If it's a game like the Geelong Gold Coast game, like 95% tip Geelong, so it doesn't really matter if you get that wrong. But if you go ahead and tip Gold Coast and Gold Coast lose or whatever, then you can be set back big time. So yeah, I guess that's how I'm going about the tips this year. But anyway, Sunday twilight, we have the West Coast Eagles taking on Melbourne at Optus Stadium. I think this one's pretty obvious. I think everyone's going to tip Melbourne in this. I'm going to tip Melbourne by 68 points. West Coast just aren't that good, to be honest with you. I know they've had a couple of good games lately, but yeah, of course they're going to be up for the Derby, and of course they're going to be up for that GWS game to try and get a win earlier on in the season, just so they're not Owen. Because you don't want to be like 0-7 or 0-8 or some shit, especially when you're a rebuilding team. So the D should win this easily. Doesn't matter what stadium it's at. Melbourne, Premiership contender. West Coast, wooden spoon contender. Simple as that. Easter Monday, we have Geelong taking on Hawthorn at the MCG. Geelong, bottom of the ladder, only team to not win a game. I've tried to tell you guys, Geelong will not be good this year. I've tried to warn you, but you didn't listen. Although I think Hawthorn overall are definitely worse than Geelong. Hawthorn are 17th, I believe, but they have a win. I don't know what's weirder, the fact that there's only 2 teams that are 3-0, or the fact that there's only 1 team that hasn't won. Like, this team 17th on the ladder is 1 and 2. I don't think I've ever seen that before. But Geelong should be able to take care of the Hawks here. By 42 points, I'll say. They'll definitely be desperate to get a win. You know, they will be switched on for this against the arch rival, Easter Monday. They desperately need a win. Imagine if they lose this. Holy shit. I really do want Hawthorn to win, and honestly, I don't think it'll happen, but for some reason 12% have actually tipped Hawthorn. I think you're insane if you tipped Hawthorn. I just can't see Geelong losing this, but I'll be definitely cheering on Hawthorn. I hate Geelong that much. So yeah, those are my tips for round 4. Tell me your tips in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button and leave a like on this video. Also be sure to join my Discord server. It is called Australian Sports Community. Link to that is in the description. Also be sure to subscribe to my second channel. It is called Stoody Archives. Link to that is also in the description. Also be sure to follow me on my other social media accounts. I have Instagram, I have Twitter, and I also have TikTok. The username for all of those is StoodyYT, and links to all of those will also be in the description. I hope you've had a good day, and I'll see you all in the next video.